Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new Netflix documentary, Stamped from the Beginning, which tells the story, the history of racism and slavery throughout American history, and this is from Dr. Kendi's National Book Award winning story, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas. And this film is from director Roger Ross Williams, who's having a great year with his film Cassandra, starring Gael Garcia Bernal, and his Donna Summer documentary that came out on HBO as well. And I loved that documentary about Donna Summer. I really enjoyed Cassandra a lot, and I think this is probably his strongest film yet from this year. He's a very talented filmmaker who's able to mix so much in terms of documentary interviews, archival footage, and animation, bringing a lot of this history to life. And those animated elements are the most unique in turning this into a more hybrid kind of experience that really brings this history to life and makes you really confront this history of racism and hate in this country in a unique way, and I think that's the thing that stands out most about this film. Sure, a lot of it is interviewing black people and elevating their voices to be heard, and that's needed, and obviously should be the main function of this film, to be able to have those voices heard, because for so long they haven't. This film doesn't pull punches in the way that it really hones in on fallacies in American history, especially with figures like Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln, who are overly simplified in the way that we learn history in America, and really trying to whitewash away all the bad things about them. And it's like, they're human beings. They had flaws, and some of their flaws were pretty darn bad. Specifically Thomas Jefferson raping his slaves and impregnating them and having how many kids? And this film doesn't shy away from telling the whole picture of these history. I do feel like there's a couple elements that are a bit of a stretch in terms of trying to reinforce this thesis, and some of it's, interestingly enough, how they look at film. And I just don't feel like when they started talking about like King Kong and Planet of the Apes and stuff like that, I don't feel like it hit the same way as a lot of the other pieces of evidence to the thesis of this film, and I feel like it felt like a bit of a weak link and a bit of a stretch to try to reinforce its point. I understand where they're going with it, and I'm not to say that there isn't evidence or credence to what they're trying to say. I just feel like maybe a few of these beats feel a little less focused, and I'm just gonna have my obligatory, yes, they showed the insurrection in this particular film, and it's just like, I really wonder how many documentaries I've watched this year where they showed footage of the January 6th insurrection, and how many of them, like, was this really necessary to show in this particular film? But overall, what Roger Ross Williams is able to do with this film is balance a couple of different ways of storytelling in his documentary to weave together such a poignant, impactful, and resonant film that really pushes you to take a different kind of look at American history and how we've perceived our experiences in many different ways. And I feel like this is the kind of film that, obviously, there's people out there that will never watch this, won't give it the time of day, or acknowledge its potential importance. You could just looking at the ratings. There's so many 1-star ratings on IMDb for this movie, and of course there is. I think this is an important film to watch, especially because, like, I do feel like its impact will definitely hinder upon how much of an understanding you have about American history and how much you understand that there's a broader perspective that could be taught to you in terms of American history. Because there's probably a lot of things that a lot of people already know in this film, but there's also a lot of people that probably have never acknowledged anything that this film talks about, that I feel like it's pretty darn eye-opening from start to finish. And in general, I think this film is important and should be viewed, and especially by, white people. Pretty obvious at that point. But those are my thoughts on Stamped from the Beginning. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.